episode.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. I'm after rounding up a big player to talk to you today. He's playing in the elite of his sport. He's the best man to do it in Ireland. And if you're talking about a sport that is to do with mindset, then darts is your only man. I'm joined by the Magpie, Willie O'Connor. Willie, how are you?
Not so bad. How are you keeping?
Good, Willie. Thanks for coming on. No, geez, I didn't think I'd get such a big player now so early on in the podcast.
Not at all, no. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
There's no panic at all. But sure, do you know what? Knowing I'm a Kentuck man, you're just after telling me you've plenty of people around locally that are associated with you, so I'd say you're kind of half obliged to come on.
Oh, that's it. Sure, I know all the lads down the market side and the whole lot, and I was going down to Colin Sullivan the whole time. Sure, I'm married to a Newmarket woman, so.
So you're not too far away at all. So Capamore isn't too far either, just an hour's journey.
That's all.
So usually, Willie, the best place to start usually is at the beginning, right? So I'm going to ask you, how do you, like darts isn't a mainstream sport, you know. There's only certain places in Ireland where you can become a dart player. So will you tell me how did you get into it, or how did you start?
I suppose there's a friend of mine there. He took on a local pub here in Capamore, and I was down to the pub one night, and sure, I was doing a bit of work down there or whatever, and he asked me to play, and I said no. I said, and he goes, sure, go on. He said, sure, there's only a fiver into it. I said, I won't. I said, I've never played darts in my life. I said, go away. And he said, come on, can't you give it a go? And I said, no, go away with it. He goes, I'll put you in if you play, and I'll pay for you. He goes, you can't be every kind of a miserable, you know, but I said, go on, sure. And I kind of, I got lucky, I suppose, and I got to a semi-final or a quarter-final or whatever it was. And every week, then I went down, and he started putting me in more, and then I started getting the finals, and I started winning them. And he was in himself, he was a county player, so he was telling me about the county scene and the whole lot, the All-Irelands and all this kind of caper. So I was kind of intrigued by the whole lot, so I started following it, and I kind of went along with him for a bit, and I kind of went, geez, I'd like to make just be some crack, wouldn't it, if I could make the Limerick team. So I said I'd try anyway, and sure, I made the Limerick team, and then sure, one thing led to another, and I tried to make the Irish team, and I made that, and you know, I kind of got out of control very quick.
Yeah, what age were you when you threw your first dart, can I ask?
I was about 18 or 19.
Oh, geez, do you know, in relation to sport, that's fairly late, isn't it? To pick up a sport like 18, 19 through your first dart, and you're playing 30. Yeah. Are you ranked 36th in the world now in the PDC? I looked that up. Is that accurate? That's actually crazy when you think about it. Do you know what I mean? In the space of 15 years, in relation to get to the elite level, it is actually unheard of. So,
and
how long?
And after 4 years, I won the national singles after 4 years of playing. So
I kind of straight away.
I took to it like a duck to water, really.
That's crazy, yeah. And did you fall in love with it straight away? Or did you
I did love it, yeah. I did. Yeah. I love the competitiveness of it. I'm a very competitive person, like.
Oh, go away. You know what? If people see you watching playing, that's easy to see, I think, when you're playing. Because, you know, one thing I've noticed, I watch a lot of your games on researching that you come across as an extremely focused player. Do you know, you're kind of zoned in. And you do a lot of talking to yourself, like, behind, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get into that later anyway, but that's just something I was talking about. But, like, did you realise straight away, I'm good at this, like?
No.
Or did you think, you know what, or did you realise, when did you realise I'm actually good at this and I can make a go of it? Do you know?
No, I never once thought that. I knew I was never good enough, and I always tried to improve. It was always a case of, I'm not as good as him or him, but I know I can beat him if I can go up and give it my best. I know on my best day I can beat him, and I have the fight in me to get over the line. So even though I wasn't as good as him, or I didn't have the experience, I kind of had the belief that I can beat him. Like, and I think that's more kind of what got me over the line and got me to where I was, more than ability or anything like that. It was just that I had that kind of fight in me, like.
Oh, very good. That's phenomenal, really. I remember the first time I actually came across you, and we were talking about it earlier, is I went down to see Robert Thornton in Donnacha's Bar. I'd say it must be, is it 2008 or 2009? But
yeah,
he was doing an exhibition anyway, and you know what? I wasn't really enjoying it because He was embarrassed. Do you know a lot of people, if people were never at an exhibition before, you pay to play him. You just take him on for the crack. And geez, a lot of people went up. And he was, of course, he was embarrassing everyone. He was whooping them. But next thing, do you know, I was kind of getting tired of it. But next thing, a young fella, must be only 20 odd, went up and he threw his warm-up darts. And he banged in a 180 on his warm-up. And I said, you know what? This fella has a bit about him here. And he might chance him. And that same fella went on to beat him. Did you beat him 2-1? I think you beat him. Anyway, you're delighted. And I was delighted as well that it softened him and shut him up for a while. So that's when I realised...
Yeah.
That's when I first took notice of you, because you show great talent, like that. It was obvious that you were good at it. So, but I didn't think... oh, sorry, go on.
No, it was just I used to follow him around. Like when the lads just come over from England, that I used to hear these, they were coming over to do exhibitions and that. I always kind of had it in my head that
go play him.
I'd like to get a hop off him, like.
Definitely.
I'd like to get a hop off him and see. Yeah, you'll see where you are fairly quick, like.
Yeah. Jeez, Robert Thornton didn't like it anyway. That's one thing I can remember. Because he wasn't joking.
No, he didn't. He took it sour, didn't he?
He did. He took it very slow. I was delighted because he was only embarrassing everyone else, to be honest. You know, and fair play to you, went up and you whooped him anyway. So I knew there and then. I said this fella has potential here. But to go on from that then, because I used you as my claim to fame. I remember my family is a big follower of darts, and we went on to every televised tournament we used to watch, and didn't we flick on to the 2010 UK Open, and geez, there you were. That was your first real breakthrough, where people started to take notice of this fella's actually good. You went far there. Did you have a couple of wins, and then you took on James Wade up on the big stage. So you tell me, what was that like?
Yeah, it was brilliant experience. But I don't know. I was happy enough with it. This was my first time in telly and everything, and I done well enough. I suppose I got to the last 16 or whatever it was, and in the UK Open, it's not easy, like, because. Before I played James, I think I beat Peter Wright. I think it was 5. Was it 5-0 down or 5-1 down? And I came back to win 9-7 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think it was anyway. It was tough, like, it was tough, but I enjoyed it, like, it was a learning experience anyway. That's one thing for sure.
But I suppose the main reason you enjoyed it is, I assume you went in with no expectations, did you, or had you an idea that I'm going to make a go of this, or did you just go over and see how you get on?
No, funny enough, at the time I was playing well. I was playing very, very well. I was probably playing better than I am now, I'd say. Well, in my head anyway. Well, I was practicing better anyway.
You're playing fairly well at the moment as well.
I know, but at the time it was kind of a mental thing for me, because I went over, I was watching all these lads on telly the whole time and everything, and it kind of killed me at the start, where I didn't give myself a chance. I didn't have the experience of how to deal with the lads and everything else. But like, I didn't know Peter Wright, and I didn't, so I didn't really care that I was playing him. Like, so.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
But then I knew I was playing James Wade, and I remember I had plenty of opportunities in that game, and I got beat. But if I hadn't known him, or in my head, I would have probably beaten him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just a mental block I had.
Yeah. Was it you knew
it was the name that beat me?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see what you mean. But can I ask, did you get did a light bulb go off in your head after that week to say, do you know what, there's a career here for me if I wanted? Or did you think, or was it all only still a hobby, or was it still a sport?
No, I was just enjoying it as I was going. I said, look, I'll give it a go and see what the crack is. And I didn't listen. Like, I came from Capmore here, where we hardly have darts. And you wonder how I came out of here at all playing darts, because there's no one playing darts here, like. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm on television playing darts, and it's kind of a very surreal feeling, like. So I was just proud that I was actually after doing that, like, because I never saw myself doing that, like. I just thought, isn't it great to play for Limerick, and wasn't it great to play for Ireland, and I never saw myself going as far as any of them things, but I done them, and then I had the opportunity to play on TV. I said, you know what? Sure, if I never go any better, at least I can say I played on TV. That's where I was with the whole thing. It wasn't that I thought I was good enough to be in the top 32 or top 16 in the world. It was just an opportunity to maybe, like every young fella's dream that's playing darts, all they want to do is, what would it do to be on TV to play a game of darts? That's where I was. It wasn't that I wanted to make a career out of it or anything. It was just, I was just living in the moment. Like, it was it was a dream come true at the time, you know.
Yeah, but surely getting results over these fellas had to have given you confidence and an idea to say maybe I am onto something here. Maybe there is a future here for me. Do you not think? No.
No, I didn't think that at all. To be honest,
No.
at the time.
Just counting.
No.
Yeah. Jeez, just thought you were a bit of lucky.
No, because I didn't have the. See, I didn't have the money to go. To be honest, to do all the tours and to do everything. So I was kind of, I knew. Look, I suppose if I looked at it another way at the time and said, look, I have the money behind me and I can do it, then I would have probably looked at it differently. But I knew my time was going to be short there, and I said, I'm going to make the most of it while I can, because I'm not going to be able to do all the tour to get to where I want to be. So at the time, I was just trying to live in the moment and enjoy it, because I didn't know, look, if you asked me then, would I be still there? I would have said no, because I was out there in a couple of months, do you know what I mean? But I don't know how I hung on in there, but I did.
Which is actually what I was going to lead on. So I'm at 2010 now, and but bar probably the World Cup of Darts, we wouldn't have really seen much of you. You would pop you up here now and again, but I'm fast forwarding now very lot. But it was really maybe 2018, 2019, you started to make massive breakthroughs. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I mean,
do you know something? It just kind of clicked one day. I said to myself, do you know something? There's money starting to come into this bloody thing. I said, I'm breaking my back here every week to try and get here, and I'm doing a spend of the money that is so hard to earn getting here, but I'm not actually making the most of it. So I said, I'm going to give it 12 months, and see how I get on. And I got to a European final not long after saying it. And I lost to Michael Van Gerwen in that one. And then I turned around in the next one I played in, and I beat Michael Van Gerwen in the next European tour. And I said to myself, you know what? I could have won that tournament if it was my day. And I said to myself, come on now, I need to get stuck into this. So I said, I'm going to give it a good go now here and see how I get on. And then the following year, then I won the Pro Tour, and I think I got to the final of the World Cup and whatever else I done. I done all right just that year, I suppose. Then, look, now we're into the coronavirus. It was starting to pick up for me, and the hard work I was putting in was starting to pay off, but the whole lot's gone up a heap now again.
I know, yeah. But saying that, sure, it's the same for everyone. You know what I mean? So you might get you're obviously starting to get onto something now. You're after going through two things I wanted to talk about there very fast. There's a lot of aspects. So first thing I want to take you back is to Nathan Aspinall in the final. You won your first PDC Tour win. Was that what was that experience like? Because you were knocking on the door for such a long time to finally get in and get your first tour win. That had to have been. Do you
know something? Once I got to that final, I swear to God, you could have given me anyone in the final in my head. I was never losing it.
But that was obvious.
I just have a thing in my head that I don't lose finals. I don't care who you put in front of me. I do be laser focused. If I can get to a final, I'm going to win it. That's what's in my head. Okay. All the hard work is done. You're here now. Put him under the pressure and let him feel it, and you just walk away with it. That's all I said to myself, and I believed I was going to win it that day. Once I got to the final, I said, I have it now. Then just do it. And, look, I suppose it's probably not the best way, but I felt confident, I felt very confident in that final.
But sure, when did you know that day? Was there anything different about that day? Was it just another tournament, or did things just click for you? Because you took a lot of scalps that day, in fairness, and some big names as well. Did you beat James Wade on the way?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't remember it, but
yeah, but that's massive, like a tour win. And if you look at Nathan Aspinall, who came out of nowhere.
Yeah, but even that whole year there, I give a whole year there, and the lads that be on tour there tell you I was playing way better darts all year. And don't get me wrong, I think I had a tournament average that day of 98 or whatever it was.
Okay.
But I was playing all year, and I was getting bait with them averages. I was averaging 102, getting bait 98, 100. Every day I was getting bait, and I was looking at lads winning with 90s and 88s, and I was thinking to myself, Mother of God, what have I to do to win a game here? Yeah. And then one day I just came in and it just clicked, and I didn't do anything different. I just kept doing what I was doing, and just, things
you said that in your post. In your interview after, you said maybe all your luck came the one day. Just things seemed to click. But Jesus, I watched that final now against Nathan, and it was fairly clear after the first couple of legs that it was only going one way.
Yeah, I think it was probably the worst darts I played the whole day, to be honest, during the final.
Oh, go away. But Nathan seemed to but do you know what I noticed about you, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. When you seem to get ahead, if you get out ahead, 'tis rare that you actually let that slip. Would you agree? Do you know you went ahead?
I don't know.
3-1. You went ahead 3-1.
I can tell you one thing. I learned a lot of lessons. I let a lot of them slip over my time too. But you learn lessons in life. When you get ahead, you hold on to that lead and you push it harder. Let him feel the pressure and keep putting that pressure on him, because they'll come back at you there. Like you're talking, like the best players in the world. Like they're not the best player in Ireland, they're the best player in England.
I understand. Yeah,
they're the best players in the world.
Yeah,
and like you give them one, even if your body language changes, they will just switch and turn it on there, and they will go in and steamroll you. So you have to keep it all together, like, and keep the pressure on them, like, and it's just something you learn over time.
But how do you, in the middle, we'll move on to that side of things. In the middle of a game, like, how do you manage your emotions? Because, like, it's the one sport that I see that you have no effect over your opponent. So let's say you set up with 32 and your opponent is on 170 and he takes it out. That has to be deflating. Do you know?
No.
Or you don't think about it?
You have to get over it.
Yeah.
You have to get over it, because at the end of the day, like you say, they're the best players in the world. If you give me a shot at 150 or 130 or 100, whatever, I expect to get it. Look, I'm not going to hit it every time.
Oh,
but,
right.
You know, I mean, if you take it out, fair play at you. If you don't, I'm going to take it out. That's, you know, look, it will, of course. You can let these things deflate you, and you can let them tear you down. But I mean, you have to look. You're going to look. It's just a place that you're going to learn that you either get hard or you're going to be pushed out of it, because a lot of things. It's you're going to lose games in the PDC, in the darts, and you're going to lose a lot more games than you win. And you're going to have to learn to take your beatings before you can get your wins. And taking those losses and taking those things in the chin and learning to do it and not let it upset you. That's the only way you're going to move forward in the game. And it does take time to learn that. It's not something that you're going to do. There's no one going to walk up and just start playing darts and just be good at that. You can't. You have to learn. You have to learn that, like, and you have to accept it. And that's the biggest thing.
Jeez, yeah. But a lot of that has to stem from experience, though. Like you're saying, you're learning it. Did you have to, I presume, or are you naturally mentally tough? Do you mind me asking? Or did you have to learn that? Because it's the one thing I find amazing.
You see, it's a different sort of mental toughness. Like, so, like, you could do anything there, like, you could bait the shite out of me there for an hour, and I'd stand there and I'd just look at you like, you know what I mean? And it wouldn't bother me. But in darts, it's different. It's a different sort of mental torture. It's just different. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing you can do about it except accept it. You have to just accept it, and it's just something you learn. Like you're not gonna just turn up there and just be that person. Like it's just something you learn over time. Something you're going to learn through experience.
Okay, so take like what I find fascinating about the game. I love about the game is you open up a leg with a 180 and you're like massive cheer from the crowd. You're like, I have this. But then your opponent...
No, you don't.
You're not thinking... But that's...
You never say that. You never say that, because you're straight away, you're gone. You're going to lose the league.
Okay,
The first thing you do when you hit the 180 is you say, lovely, I'm going to make full advantage of this now.
Yeah.
Get in there again and put another big score in. Get this leg finished. Win this leg fast. And know that if you don't keep pushing it here, he's going to come and take that leg out from underneath you. So you have to keep pushing. Get that leg under your belt, move on to the next one. Keep putting pressure on again. It's just a constant.
Yeah, it has to be stressful. It sounds very stressful, or is it?
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah. It's very stressful. Like.
Because it's fierce entertaining to watch, and I actually love, like, just say you try in a 180, and then whoever you're playing, Michael Van Goren comes back with another 180. Like, I'd be fascinated. Like, what? Do you not even think about his... Are you not thinking about what he's doing? Or do you think about what he's doing? Do you know his score? Are you only totally focused on your score?
Oh, of course, you know everything that's going on. You shouldn't know, but you do know what he's doing. But at the same time, you know what he's doing, but there's nothing you can do about what he's doing. So you have to learn that obviously there's nothing you can do. Like if he goes in and hits 180, they're going to roar out 180. If you go in and hit 100, and then he goes in and hit another 180, you know that he's on a 9 dart or he's miles ahead of you. But at the same time, that's out of your control, and you have to focus on what you can control, not what's out of your control.
Yeah.
What he's doing is in his own hands. What I do is in my own hands. And if I'm good enough on the day, I'll win. And if I'm not good enough on the day, I won't win. But all I can do is do my best on any given day. So you have to focus on yourself and focus on hitting those big scores. Look, darts is as simple and as awkward as you make it. And saying that, it's as simple as this. score as high as you can, finish as fast as you can. And that is as simple as the game of darts is. But you can make it a lot more complicated. And that's up to each individual. But the easier and more simple you make a thing, the easier it'll become. And the same thing goes to your throw. So people stand up and they have a way of throwing a dart. And they twist the dart and turn the dart in their fingers and they hold it this way and they stand that way. They do so many things that just becomes awkward. And the more things you do, the more that can go wrong. So make things very simple. The more simple your action is and your throw is, the less can go wrong. And the same in your head. Make it simple so that less can go wrong. Just focus on yourself, focus on your throw. Make the game of darts simple. And that's score high, finish fast.
It's not as easy as that for us modern.
Well, it is if you believe it, but you have to believe it is.
Yeah, okay, but sure, it's phenomenal. Like everyone here that's listening knows that throwing a dart. I remember you aim for the bullseye there. It might take you 10 minutes. So, but you're you're definitely at a different league here now. So, but like. It's amazing. I think it's a phenomenal sport. I think what you do is phenomenal, and that leads me into what I want to talk about, and probably your biggest appearance or your biggest competition that you're involved in is the World Cup, and yourself and Steve Linden went on representing Ireland, and you went on a phenomenal run. But there was a couple of things I was kind of lucky at, and I want to talk to you about a couple of things you were saying. But basically, was it the quarter final? You took on, was he the reigning world champion, Rob Cross?
Yeah.
In your individual, and let's not beat around the bush here. You whooped him 4-1. Do you know? But was that a light bulb moment? Because he's after winning the world championship, and you're after proving that I can hang with you and I can beat you fairly handy. That surely has to give you confidence, no? Or were you just wound up?
Yeah,
I
played him 2 times before that the same year, and both times I should have won, and I didn't. I didn't take my opportunity, so I knew, and I had a chat with him after the game because I was a bit down on myself because I said, like, I had so many opportunities to put away legs and I didn't, and I said I was a bit upset by it, like, not with just myself and the way I took it out, like I should have won those legs handy, and I didn't, and I let this game slip, and I was thinking, like, come on, you can't keep doing this, like. But Rob was just he gave me a bit of advice, and he just said, like, but you just step back for a second, he said, and look at the amount of 180s you hit there in them games, said, like, look at the amount of things you done right, not the things you done wrong. These are very simple things to fix, the things you done wrong. But look at the things you done right. No one can live with those 180s you're throwing, he said. You hit so many 180s, he said, against me, that, like, I was standing there, although you were looking at me going back at you, because I was looking going, my God, will he ever stop hitting him? I never thought of it that way, like, so I thought of it in my head going, he can't deal with the 180s, like, he can't deal with my scoring. So I said in my head, if you go in there and just focus on just outscoring him, he can't deal with it, and he won't deal with it. So that's what happened that day, was I went out and I said, he cannot deal with my scoring. I said, I'm going to show him.
And by God, you did, in fairness.
Yeah.
Well,
he wound me up now backstage, like, so that was his own fault.
Yeah. No, you didn't let that slip in the interview after. But one thing that I did notice, and what you said, I don't know if you can remember, is that you said that you went up there thanks to Steve because he had a great win before. You felt no pressure, and you said that's something you should probably learn from. And can I ask you, like, do you think about that game? Do you know how you said that usually you go up and you expect the best from you? But how this time you went up, you said there was no pressure, that you were just going up and play your game of darts. And that produced maybe your best performance. But, like, have you brought that forward? Or was it just because, which I'm after learning now, that Rob Cross wound you up, that you ended up with a bee in your bonnet and you were able to pull out this performance? Like, is there anything... Yeah,
I think it was a bit of both, to be honest with you. I had learned a lot that year, and I was, to be honest with you, I had a lot of hard work and practice put in that year as well, like, and I just felt in a good place, and there was a lot of things, a lot of factors, like, but yeah, it probably was a lot to do with the bee in the bonnet. I just said to myself, he might beat me here, and if he does, fair play to him, but I tell you one thing, he will earn this. And I just said to myself, you just get in there and batter him, because he can't. In my head, I remember him saying to me, he can't, he didn't like the high score that I was putting in, so I just said, just get in, focus, and just batter him, just batter him open with scores. I said, and look at his reactions and see, because I know he didn't like it. And I could see in his face he didn't like it. He started smiling and he started doing it. I goes, I have you. And I just go on, keep doing that. He don't like this. He can't deal with it. So I kept just whacking scores. And every time I looked at him, he was smiling, saying, "My God." And I knew he didn't like it, so I just kept pushing it. He was feeding me, like, you know what I mean? He was feeding my confidence. So that's where it was, like, you know. And I thrived in it.
And are you, like, that was as an exceptional performance. Do you know this while you're throwing it? Are you just so focused on the game, or do you realise I'm on form here, I'm going well? Or are you just thinking, right, next score, next double, next leg?
No, the funny thing about it is, right, so when you're in the back practicing, right, you have your own you have practice boards in at the back. So you're playing like that all the time in the back practicing. But it's whether or not you can bring that game out to the stage. And it's not as if, the lights and there's people looking at you is why you're not doing it. It's sometimes the lighting is different. Or, you know, the surroundings are different. So it's eye-hand coordination, you see, the game, right? So
yes.
if the throw is a little different, or if there's a bit of a breeze on stage, you're going to have to throw the dart a little bit harder. Now, you've been practicing backstage on a certain throw, and, you know, it's muscle memory will start kicking in after a while as well, and you find it harder to adjust when the board isn't the same as what you've been practicing on. So everything has to click, everything has to be the same for me to play my best darts on stage. You know, like sometimes you get a board backstage and they're just not right, you know, and sometimes they are. So look, that's a lot of it too, like, you know.
Yeah,
but
I never realised that.
It does play in practice, plays their best darts.
I understand, but there's no pressure. It's easy to play with no pressure, I suppose. Is it? I don't know. It's easier anyway.
Pressure is what you make it, isn't it? I mean, like, if you go out there and just focus on playing your best darts, like I say, score as high as you can, finish fast you can. That is as simple as it is. Focus on that, do that, get it out, get off stage, walk away. That's it. Like, and just make that your game.
Nice.
You can go out there too and focus on being stressed and you know, and being nervous and being whatever you want. If you start focusing on that, that's just going to be your thing every time you go out. You need to find something to focus on and focus on that.
Perfect. Yeah, geez, you're a tough man, William. You're a tough man, in fairness, because like I'm just trying to play. I throw darts here at home. I love throwing darts, and you know, I'd be thinking, and I think, geez, I'm not too bad. But put me on stage, put 7,000 people behind me, I'd be thinking, I don't know. It wouldn't bother me at all. Yeah. No, but what would more upset you, and you don't believe it or not, is when if you start thinking of prize monies. Okay. Yes.
And you get closer to that finish line.
Yes. Yeah.
That's when your mind starts going a little bit.
Oh right. Yes. Yeah. I better not miss this double now. Does that ever pop into your head? I know I'm getting off topic, but you know, if just say, give you a scenario. Michael Van Gerwen there, or Rob Cross is at 150 and you're 237. Are you thinking, standing up to the Yaki, I need to throw two triples in here at least, or not? Are you just throwing your three darts, or do you there's pressure on that throw? But do you realise, right? There's pressure on this throw.
No, there's not particularly. No, you wouldn't. You do think you'd be under a lot more pressure there on that situation. Not really. You're kind of in more pressure at the start of a leg, or else your last darts at a double is where your pressure is, not the setup shots or your middle of the game. It's at your first three darts and your last three darts. That's more or less where your pressure is. In between is just you're just kind of rolling with it, like.
Okay, yes, yeah. And I'll move on. We got to the semi-final, and you made light work of the Netherlands. Was that expected? Did you think to get this far? Because it was phenomenal. No? Listen, we had probably the worst draw you could imagine. First round, exactly.
Second round, third round. It was every seed that you didn't want all the way to the final. And I'll be honest with you, I don't ever see anyone doing that again, what we done.
No, definitely not. No.
It was impossible. It was impossible what we done. And, you know, it was a pity that it ran out in the end, but look, you know, if you told me that weekend that we'd have got to the final, I would have laughed at you, like, you know, but
definitely,
we did.
Yeah. But tell me, like,
you know,
but what does it come down to? Like, yourself and Steve, maybe I'm wrong, but you just seem to click and you seem to move.
Yeah, we gel well together, you know, we get on well. And
that surely has a lot to do with it. Bar, instead of putting which you see with England, you usually have a couple of years, they'd have the number one and the number two, and they'd go up in and then they just don't perform. In competitions like that, does it come down to more gelling with your gelling and confidence?
Well, It does, because like again, no, and Steve, if you're ever chatting to Steve Lennon, he'll tell you this. Like again, no, when we played the Netherlands in the semi-finals, like Michael was kind of giving him a bit of stick as well, like trying to get in his head. Yeah. And they won't try with me because it's just impossible. Like, so I give it back to them. Like, I give it back to them worse than they came into it. But
jeez, you're after blowing me away here now. I didn't think. Do you know what? We're only sitting at the other side of the television watching you throw darts on the stage. You never realise this happened.
Oh, the serious mind games going on backstage.
Yeah, I never realised. That's shocking. No, it's gas fair play. You seem like a tough man, in fairness. But what I wanted to say was,
well, you don't have to listen. You don't have to believe what you say. Only just make them believe it.
But in Stephen's, we'll say to what shall I say, to celebrate Stephen's mental side, if you go to the doubles match that he played on stage, I don't mean to insult you, but Stephen was the best player on the stage by far. He came out, he was throwing great darts, and he saved
a couple savage darts.
In fairness, and also, do you know, maybe the silent man, Steve wasn't able to give it back to him, but he was able to give it back to him on the stage. No, in fairness, then.
Oh, he did. Listen, he threw absolutely unbelievable. Finished some great finishes, hit some great scores. It was brilliant.
It has to be, it has to come down to self-belief and confidence, like, doesn't it? Did he just know, right, fuck you? Is that what he said in his own head and just went out and threw it? I don't know. I find it fascinating how you do it, to be honest, up on the stage in front of that many people. It has to be nerve-wracking. Because do you know why I think it's nerve-wracking is, if you take, and people listening will understand this, if you're nervous for anything, if you're nervous going to an interview, or you're nervous playing a game of hurling, or you're nervous about talking to someone, the first thing that happens is your hands start shaking. Do you know what I mean? So you're nervous, right? But you must go up then and try and be steady. Your hands have to stay steady and trying at this dartboard. And it's...
Well, you're not, you're not nervous, you see.
Yeah, what are you so excited? You have to be nervous. Come on, have to be.
No, you'll be anxious and you have a bit of adrenaline going, alright, like, but you wouldn't be shaking or anything, like.
Yeah, just ready to go. That's, well, I suppose you're competitive.
Look, your heart rate. I mean, if your heart rate doesn't go up, you're not human, like, you know. But
I understand.
No, you wouldn't. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not that I have never felt that. Like when I started playing darts first, I'm not joking. My hand was more wobbling than a bowl of jelly, like.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. It has to come from.
No, you learn to deal with that, like, and learn just to push it away down deep, and leave it there and lock the door.
Yeah, and to move, I don't know, I find it fascinating. And moving on to your final, then you kind of said after, was it just one step too far? Yourself and Steve, I know you did your post interview, but the two of you seemed that it was just, you were kind of drained. Yeah. What did that come, but is that, based on what I'm learning now, do you know how you were so kind of wound up? Game playing Rob Cross?
No.
You playing Michael Gorwin? Would that have drained
Not really.
you? No?
It wasn't, no. The biggest thing that came down with us was, to be honest with you, we ran out of energy. We didn't bring enough food, or we literally had nothing to eat all day. Like with a sandwich, I think, in the middle of the day, we weren't prepared. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at the draw we got, we said, look, we'll see how it goes. We just take it. But sure, we were there from the early morning till late at night, and we didn't have enough food, or we didn't have enough ready anything, and we didn't have time between games to go running off and getting things. And
yes,
it's not an excuse for losing, but it was anyway. A fact.
Yeah,
it was a fact that we were low on energy, like going into it, like, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's like, no, I never actually realised that sort of, you know, in darts, you wouldn't think that fitness or energy or stamina would come into it, but obviously when it's a long day, sure, if you don't eat anything throughout the day, it must be tiring, and then go out on stage and perform.
If I said to you, before every game you do 3 hours practice, right? So if my first game I played on the Sunday, we done 3 hours practice. We played our game, which is probably another, half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, whatever. All right? And then we go back and we're playing for our next game, which is another 3 hours practice, along with another 3/4 of an hour thrown on stage, and then along with the next one, which is another 3 hours, whatever it is, I don't know. That's the way it is all the time. Like, but if you asked an arm fella go up there and throw for 3 hours on a board, they'd say after 5 or 10 minutes, I have a pain in my arm. Yes, I can't.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. When you put it that way, that makes a lot more sense. And then, just out of curiosity, as you brought it up, like, have you a set routine when you're doing your 3 hours practice? How do you, like, different games, or is it just trying your different triples or combinations out, or How do you do it? Just out of curiosity, from my side of things.
I practice all my doubles, practice my triples, practice my combination shots, and just mix it up. I have a couple of practice games that I do, and
do you ever feel like after an hour, do you know what, I feel good here, I leave it at that, or do you always stick here? No, do your 3 hours. Just it's a matter of fact, you have to do them. Or
it's like this. Now, if you go out there and you lose, you can never have any regrets. Okay. So I always give it 100%. Whether I play my best darts, I play my worst darts. I have no regrets. I can't. There's nothing I could have done different to make myself or prepare myself any better. And that's just it. I can walk away then knowing that I couldn't have done anything any better. I couldn't have done any more. It is what it is. Walk away then with your head held high, and that's it. You can't do any more than your best on any given day.
Yeah, fair. Jeez, yeah. No, fair play to you. Yeah, that's a tough mindset. You're a tough man, William. You're a tough man, no, in fairness to you. Tell me, how did the Premier League appearance come about? You were brought in as a challenger, and I want to get onto the famous walk-on. But just out of curiosity, are you just approached, or did you know leading a couple of weeks, months, leading up to it that you were going to be on the big stage?
No, I didn't know about anything short to the last minute, and I was delighted to get called for a church. It was an honour to be up there and get the spot and do it on. But I always had it in my head. I said, if I ever got on there, I said I have the right walk on for it. I said, but I said it has to be for the right moment. I said I wouldn't use it all the time. I said if I get the moment, I said I'll use it. And then when I got the call, I said I can't wait. This is going to be absolutely epic. And in my head, I seen it all. It was a bit more surreal now when you saw it in real life. But I kind of had it all played out in my head, and I kind of knew what I was in for. Like I just seen it. I seen exactly what was going to happen, and it was absolutely unbelievable experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably one of the best experiences I ever had in darts.
It must have been phenomenal. Like I for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'll share it underneath. But like, let's put it this way: the PDC have that shared on their YouTube page, and they don't share anyone's walk on. And it's 250,000 views, I think, or something like that. Something phenomenal, anyway. Like, what I want to ask you now is, how'd you go from that to turn around and say, right, now I got to play Michael Van Gerwen?
Yeah, it wasn't easy, was it? It wasn't easy, like.
In fairness, no, like. And you're on about nerves.
I was still in the walk on halfway through the game, so I didn't know what was going to
happen. Yeah. But, like, it's just. If you ever talk, yeah. I'm mad about mental toughness and how people deal with stuff like that. Like, you surely had to. There's surely that's surely valuable experience that you can take with you.
Oh, it is, and you know what? It tells you a lot about yourself, whether or not you could deal with that crowd in the Premier League, or how would you react to certain situations, and I learned from it that I can. I know. Look, I'd love to get another pop at it because I think I'd do a little bit better next time, but. Look, hopefully down the road, you never know what will happen, but I do know that I can deal with those pressure situations now, where before walking into it I wasn't sure how I was going to react to it, or with all the media and everything, all the phone calls and everything I was getting, it was a lot of pressure going into that night, and it does play in your mind, because I wasn't used to that amount of phone calls, and it was unbelievable, like, the amount of interviews I had to do going up, and I was like, mother of God. It's something I wasn't used to, but when I got up there and everything, I felt good, like, and I definitely learned from it,
Yeah, but you could see that, I watched it. I've watched nearly every game I've seen you play now, because assuming I knew I was going talking to you. But coming towards the end of the game, you started to get into your groove, and if it went on a bit longer, I think you could have nearly got back into it. But sure, after 7 legs was kind of, you don't play out the remaining legs.
I did find it difficult enough at the start because of the whole, my heart rate was probably going out through the top of my head.
Yeah, and the first 2 legs whipped in, almost straight away.
Yeah.
But in fairness, you got the grips with it.
But he knew. But like, if I was in his position now, I would have done the same thing there, going, look, he's never been up here in the Premier League. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. It's his home crowd. The pressure's going to be on him. Unless he does something good, the pressure's all on him. And I would have went in there with that mindset that all the pressure's on this fella. Get him quick, get him early, put the pressure on him. Like, he wasn't focused on the stuff I was focused on. He was focused on just another game. So in his head, he just has to go in there, put the pressure on, get the first couple of legs under the belt, keep the pressure on me, and roll over the line. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
You know. So
yeah. And he's a good player too. No, in fairness to him.
He's all right. Like
He's not bad. No. But I remember in the third leg, I think you turned the 180. You hit a 180 in the first. Was it your first 3 darts of the third leg or fourth leg? And you turned around, big fist up to the crowd, and I said, "Geez, we might be onto something here." And it was fair. But that must be, what's that feeling like? You know, hitting the 180 on stage, turning around. You have to be like, have to be revved up, like, are you?
Not really, no.
No? Jeez, you're getting no response off you. But tell me, after that game then, that, like, what's the plan going forward? Because you know, like, your performances are there and the talent is there and the skill is there to hang with the big boys. Like, do you feel that, look, taking Nathan Aspinall as an example, a fella that literally came out of nowhere, do you know, and has performed very well, and has he major title won, and is he World Championship semi-finalist last year?
Yeah.
Do you see that, thinking, well, like, why not me, like, do you think that, like?
Yeah, when I look at Nathan, like, you know, you have to take a lot from what Nathan has done in the last while, you know. But like that, yeah, I look at Nathan and I think to myself, what's the difference between what he's doing and what I can do? I can do everything he's doing. I can throw what he's throwing. There's no difference to what he can do and I can do. I know I can beat him. I know I can beat most of them up there. I just have to be more consistent and put in that extra. I have to put in that extra time on the board and, you know, be more. Have to be more, just a bit more professional.
I understand. Can I ask you something? Does being Irish and not living in England, that's surely a disadvantage, is it? Or would you notice it?
It is. It's a huge disadvantage, especially for a young fella that's gone over and everything. Like if I lived over in England years ago, I think I'd have done way better because you've darts as many times a week as you want to practice, and you've all the best players in the world are living there, and if you want to meet up for practice with anyone there, and, like, you know, you're at a huge disadvantage here in Ireland, like.
And how do you practice? Do you mind asking? Do you practice on your own, or have you got partners? How do you practice? Do you do on your own, or have you partners?
No, I practice with a friend of mine. Yeah, a friend of mine there. I practice with him all the time there. Fergus Burke is his name. He's a county player for Limerick.
Oh, very good. In fairness, yeah.
And we do hop off each other there most nights.
Yeah, and is it important that, I'm not insulting Fergus now, is it important that the person that you're practicing with is of a certain standard? Or is it more just having a body there beside you? Do you know what I mean?
No, you need to be at a certain standard, right? Otherwise, there's no point in it, like, because... I don't mean a donkey, no, by any means. No, because a lot of it too, like, you could ruin the player you're playing. Because if they're not up to it, you could actually ruin them. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, you have to remember, I'm going to go in there and play my best darts. And if I go in there and throw 100 average all night, it will upset your mind, like. Okay. And if you go in every night playing me and you're throwing, just say for instance, you're going in throwing 70 averages there, and you're going in every night playing me and I'm going in and beating you, your confidence is going to be wrecked, and it's going to ruin you as a player, you know. So, but Fergus is a fantastic dart player. Like, Fergus go in and hang in the 90 averages all day, like, and he can put in the 10 plus averages occasionally as well, like. So he's a very good player, like, and he's a good one to watch.
Yes, yeah. No, I understand, because I was just looking, there was a documentary on YouTube, I don't know, I can't remember a professional player, but I was like, one thing he did say that he's only ever an hour's car journey away from another professional dart player, like, you know. And that's just one thing I was looking from you in Capamore is, you know, you wouldn't have that luxury, and is that a disadvantage? Like, that was just my thinking.
Oh, it is a huge disadvantage, but not even for the practice. But if, like, you practice the way I like, and that's fine. But match practice is where you get most of your practice, and that's your proper practice. And I don't get match practice unless I go to England. So, like, I play what? Like, I haven't played darts now, we say, competitively since the World Championship. So it'll probably be just a little bit over 2 months before my next game since I played competitive darts. So God knows how I'm playing, you know what I mean? Yes, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I suppose, look, at the end of the day, it's same for everyone now with the coronavirus and everything.
I understand.
But normally, like, without the coronavirus and everything, if I was living in England, there's competitions on, I think, nearly every night of the week over there, and there's nearly always a professional dart player at it anyway. So you're going to meet him somewhere along the way, if you don't get beaten by one of the top county players over there. So you have a massive standard no matter where you go over there.
Yeah, did that idea ever pop into your head? No? Will I go over for 12 months or...
No, I haven't an interest in the world in it.
Okay, fair enough. That's no bother.
No, I have two kids there now. One of them 13 and one is 8, and I wouldn't bring them over there, to be honest with you.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. What have you? What did I was going to ask you something now. You brought up the 2021 World Champs. You got off to a great start. You had a nice 3-0 victory over Niels. But then one thing I thought was funny is that, and if you could explain this further now, I'll appreciate it. Is how you said not having played him before was nearly, you found that was more pressure than someone you played. Can you explain that, please? Because I found that confusing.
Right. What I mean by that is I don't know what to expect. So, there's so many hidden talents out there. He could be the next Van Gerwen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I don't know. I have never seen the young fella playing. I have never, to be honest with you, look, I think he was on the tour, apparently. Sure, I've never met him or seen him over there, so I didn't know anything about him, and I said to myself, God, I don't know, is this fella...
A banana skin.
Is he going to go and throw... Is he going to throw a 90 average, or is he going to throw 100 average, 110 average, or what's he going to do? It was just, I didn't know, and it's a wrong way of thinking too, like, you know. But I should be just focused on myself. But sometimes you do focus. You know, you like to know who you're playing. How good is this lad? And yeah, you know, like at least if you play Michael Van Gerwen, you know, look, this is where I am. This is the level he's at. This is what I have to do.
I understand.
If you played, I don't know, any top player, you know, you have a fair idea of the level you're going to have to play to beat him.
I get you.
But I just didn't know anything about him, so it was just a bit nerve-wracking for me when I played him.
And do you think you put two? Because I was watching it live actually, and I see you were interviewed after, and you were playing Daryl Gurney in the next game, and one thing you said that I found interesting is that you expect Daryl to be the best Daryl that he can be, and you expect you to be the best you that you can be, and that's one thing I found interesting. Because do you feel like that you might be actually putting too much pressure on yourself? And the reason I say that is, if you're going there saying, I expect to be the best that I can be, and in the first legs, you're not performing as well as you thought you would, does that not start to create like negative thoughts? Because in that first set, Daryl, did he win? He won it fairly handy, the first set. And are you starting to think then, do you know, have you that pressure put on yourself? Is there an expectation there? And when you don't meet that expectation, do negative thoughts ever come in, like, or do you always try and stay positive?
No, to be honest with you, like, he started off like a steam train, like, you know. Daryl hadn't played well in 6 or 8 months, I'd say, at that stage. He'd been struggling a good while, like, and I just thought to myself, my God, why me, like,
yeah,
why me?
Of course, yeah.
What did I do, like? And yeah, look, he didn't look his. No, I mean, I was ready to rock when I came out there. He just got going a lot faster than I did. I needed a leg or two just to get it under my belt to get into the game. He didn't give me the chance. He done a very good job of keeping me under pressure, not letting me get going. And you know, look, he let me back into it or whatever. You know, and I got back to 2-2, and I lost concentration a bit there when Russ kind of messed up on the scores or whatever he done. And
okay,
It just snapped me out. I was kind of in the zone a bit, and he kind of snapped me out, and I was like, shit, what am I doing here? And I never, look, he took back over again, but no, look, he put me under pressure. He done a great job of putting me under pressure, and he done what he had to do to get to where he was. And look, Daryl is a super player, as everyone knows. And if you don't play well enough on your day, you're not going to win. And I didn't, and
can I ask what were you thinking in the third set when did he miss like 7 darts or 5 darts maybe to actually win the game 3-0, and that he went up, and I noticed after, and even the TV picked it up, did you put your darts into your pocket? So in 1 second you're thinking, right, this is over, I'm finished here. And then the next second, you're back on, so you have to pull your darts out of your pocket. So like, what do you think in that situation? Like, do you know?
I was just disgusted with myself, to be honest with you, and how I played the game. I just thought to myself, come on now, like, what did I do there? I got sucked into playing the player. And I'm always saying, just play the darts, play the board, don't play the player. And I just found myself playing the player. And I just thought to myself, what a fool are you? And I was just a bit disgusted in myself, you know, that's all. And then when I saw the opportunity, I said, whip that player quick.
Perfect. And then you went and you took the fourth set fairly handy, didn't you? It was a 3-1, I think you took the fourth set. And then, so, like, you know what I mean, is you're on these highs and lows in the game and just like wondering how you cope with them. How you're actually beat 3-0 in 1 second, and then literally 3 missed doubles, you're back in 2-1, then you're back in 2-2. So now you're getting, I presume you're getting to the 5th set, come on, let's just take this. And then things start to...
I never saw myself losing it when I got to the 5th set, when I got to the last set or whatever it was. So it was the 7th set, was it?
The 5th set.
What was it? 5th set. I haven't a clue, I don't know. But when I got to that last set, I just never saw myself losing. I just thought, you have it now, come on, put it away.
Yes.
And I thought I was fairly in the zone. But I don't know, I just got snapped out of it. I was focused, and then I was kind of, I don't know, did he call it Russ miscount or something happened, and I just kind of, it just snapped me out of it. That's all. And I just stood there then kind of, I don't know, I just snapped out of my little bubble, like, and I was kind of going, what happened? And it just took my mind off it. I messed up, and I should have known better, like, you know, but these things happen, I suppose, and it was a pressure situation, and all sorts of things go wrong in pressure situations.
And coming off the stage then, is it, what's the emotion like? Is it disappointment? Is it frustration? Is it anger? Like, do you say, do you know, why do I bother? Or do you think, geez, I could have got that now? Like, what are you actually thinking? How do you stay in love with the sport, really, shall I say? Do you know what I mean?
Every single one of those things we said there goes through your mind at once. It's kind of, you kind of get multiple personalities there, all in 1 second. You think of, you're definitely not thinking of the positives there and then anyway, you're thinking more of the negatives. And,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
You know,
I can imagine.
I suppose, look, at the end of the day, I mean, we have to shake the man's hand and say, well done, and, you know, he played the better darts than you won that day, so it's your own fault, it's in your own hands, and, I mean, it's a sport where it's in your hands, and, you know, it can't be taken from you unless, because, you know, it's in your hands, like, so therefore you can't blame anyone on yourself.
I understand.
So you just have to just man up and just move on.
Yeah, do you see, that's the one thing I love about darts and find fascinating. Darts, and probably the only one other sport I could kind of put it in the same bracket is golf. It's because you have your opponent or your player who you're playing with has actually no effect over you. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, if you were doing a cycling race or if you were doing a running race or a boxing match, you know, a person can cut in front of you or they can affect you or they can upset you. Whereas if you take out a 167 and you finish it and I'm waiting on my double top, you see, I have zero complaints because you went out and you did what you have to do and you took it over. You know what I mean? Which is, I find it has to be, I think it's one of the toughest sports of all. It has to be when you really think about what's involved in it. Would you agree with that? No,
I don't know. I don't know if it's one of the toughest of all, but look, every sport is very,
mentally,
very
it has to be, surely. Do you know what I mean?
It is, but then look, at the end of the day, golf is one of the most. I don't even know what golf is about. I know
they hit a ball around the field.
I got given out there for calling it a golf stick one day, so that's what I know. It was a golf club. I was told. Do you know what I mean? So look, at the end of the day, whenever you're playing elite sports and things like that, at that level, it's extremely difficult. No matter what it is, whether it doesn't matter if it's golf or if it's darts or if it's snooker or if it's pool or it's bloody wrestling, it doesn't matter. At that top level, it's so difficult, and the margins for error are so small that the first one to make a mistake, it's over. It's just over. You know,
I understand.
It's more mental than at that stage than it is anything else, because, you know, I would say the abilities of most are there or thereabouts. Look, obviously the real tip top are probably a level above again, but most of the way down along the levels, there's not much between a really good player and there's not much between a good player and a brilliant player. There's fine margins. If you go back over a game and look at the scores and the way it lays out and everything, you go, well, if that score that he hit 45 or 60 was a ton, the whole thing would have been different.
I understand.
And you go, it was that one leg back there where he lost it, and you go, that's because he hit that bad score, that one bad score that changed the whole outcome of the game. That's how small and fine the margins are. It's that one leg at the very start where you give him confidence to move on.
Is that the 52 against?
It's just so small. A lot of it is believing in yourself and believing in your ability and believing in your technique that it's going to just go. You have to just focus on that, believe in that, and let it flow, let it happen.
Nice way. I tell you, you could get if the darts doesn't work out anyway, there's a career in sports psychology for you, I'd say. You seem to have you seem to have a well thought out, well thrown up. No, not at all. I tell you could do a job with any athlete at all. If someone came to me saying they're struggling, I tell them I have the right man for you here now in Cappamore. I'll be sending him down to you.
I see him like a broken man and take him into my head.
No, not so bad. So tell me, that's more or less everything I want to ask you about your career. It's just more or less like, how are you finding the lockdown? Do you think if there was ever a sport that would suit a lockdown, darts surely has to be one? Do you know?
I don't know. Is it doing me any good? I know that.
Well, like, can you over practice? Is that a such thing in darts? Can you do too much practice? Because no, say 12 weeks off just to practice.
You practice, but right, you have good practice and you have bad practice, and if you over practice, you can over practice. So if you over practice, I think it's different. Look, I suppose it's probably different for everyone, because right, what I would say is, for me, I'm completely different in how I approach practice. I've tried it. I've done 4 hours on the spin. I've done 6 hours on the spin, constant going. And what happens at the start, I'll tell you what I've done 6 hours a day at one time for 12 months, every day. And between 4 and 6, right? We call it between 4 and 6 hours. And what I found was at the start, when I started doing it, I started off, and after 10 minutes I was playing brilliant. And slowly I would start to regress a bit, right? So my darts start going down. So after 5 or 6 months, I found that it took me nearly an hour to start playing my best darts, instead of those 5 or 10 minutes to start playing my best darts. It was almost an hour into my practice when I started playing my best darts, but I'd maintained that level for longer. But
okay.
I didn't have, even though I was more consistent, I'll call it, I didn't have those big, would say, what they call it in darts, I suppose, is a purple patch. They call them purple patches, where you're playing at your peak, where you'll go in and you'll throw 12 dart or 12 dart or 12 dart or 11 dart or 12 dart, and you'll just blitz it. I didn't get those when I started practicing for longer sports, so I changed the whole thing up after about 12 months, and I said, right, this just needs to stop. I said, because it's not doing me any good. It's actually killing my game. So what I had to do was I changed it up when I started doing 5 minutes and stop, 10 minutes and stop, 5 minutes again, stop, for nearly a half hour breaks in between. And I found that even though at the end of the day I might only do an hour and a half, that hour and a half was way more useful to me. Even if I only done a half an hour, if I only done 5 minutes a few times a day, that was more beneficial to me than doing 4 hours, because I was getting more out of the practice. And what happens is, after a while, your muscles start to go, you see, when you're practicing for long periods, and you start practicing with weak arms, and you start perfecting things that shouldn't be there. So it's bad practice. You know, it's no good. So, but if you're only doing 5 minutes, you're practicing when you're at your best. every single time. And what you find is the minute you get to the board, you're whacking in big scores straight away. You're not trying to build yourself up and start doing it. You just learn that you're straight in, straight away. You start playing really, really fast, really, really good straight away. And I found that translated to the game where I started games way better, way faster, instead of taking time to get into them. But like I say, everybody's different, and that's just what worked for me at the time.
Not nice. There's not like that's interesting. I find that fascinating. No, to be fair, because like I know nothing about the sport beyond watching on TV. You know, so everything I learn about it, I'm only delighted. Like, so, but is that your strategy? Is that your strategy? No, sorry. Do you still keep with that strategy? Do you still keep that strategy now? Only sports or training or practicing through today? Or have you changed it again?
I know I still do long. See, that's just what I was going to say. You see, you still have to do your stamina long training, but you need to, when you start to get that dip, stop.
Okay, yes, yeah. You have to stop. Okay, yes, I get you.
Because you're immediately in practicing bad darts, and you don't need to be doing that, because practice makes perfect, and the longer you practice bad darts, the more you're going to perfect it. So what you need to do is start practicing good darts. So whenever you're playing, whenever you figure out, this is when I play my good darts, and this is when it drops, this is when you need to start, and this is when you need to stop. So you need to just practice when you're playing at your best. That's when you need to practice it, right? Because then you'll perfect playing your best darts all the time. But if you start playing bad darts and you keep practicing and practicing and practicing, I think it's going to change. It won't change. You're going to just start perfecting the bad darts.
I get you.
If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. I just never realised that was like... I never realised that was a thing. A thing is the best word I could say, that you can actually... But I suppose you can. When you think about any sport, practice makes perfect.
Listen, it's different for everybody. That's just what works for me, you know?
I understand, yeah. Yeah. Moving on to, say, you're involved in the game a long time now, to a fella that's 12, 13, 14 in Ireland. Is there many avenues for him to go to get to your level?
There is.
Is there? Can you explain them?
There is, but I would say first thing to do is you have to enjoy the game. Don't ever rush anything. Don't panic. You only like the one thing is when you're starting off is you start rushing things and panicking things, and you're thinking, "Oh God, I have to do this now and have to." Do. The only thing you have to do is enjoy the game. Try and get better. Try and just enjoy it. You know, obviously you want to try and get better and progress. That's great. That's what you need to do. You need to be competitive. You know, listen to the older lads. Ask them questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Keep your action and your throw simple. Don't make it complicated, because the more complicated you make it, the more things are going to go wrong, and they are going to go wrong. Just because it looks fancy doesn't mean it's good. You know, the more simple it is, the better it is in the long run. So I would say just practice away, enjoy the game, and just look, if anyone ever has a problem, or if anyone ever wants, and they run into problems and they want to try and go a bit further, every county has a county secretary where they have a youth system, and try and make a county team. I would say probably start there. It's not that hard to find it. So in Cork, you have the Cork county team. I'm not sure who's over it now, but it wouldn't be that hard to find it.
Okay.
And all them lads are very helpful, and they'll help you. They'd love to have you on board. And from there, I would say first of all, try do that. Try and get your county, and after that, you can look at trying to make you can look at, if you're good enough, trying to make the Irish team, and after that, it moves on to the international scene, and it's there. It's not as much as it is in England now, but look, it is there, and if you're willing to go after it, it is there for you. Like,
yeah, if you. I suppose if you're good enough, the opportunities are there. Would that be fair?
Yes, I would. I'd say that. But like, the one thing is I see with an awful lot of young fellas is they start worrying too much about averages and worrying too much about improve and who's this and who's that, and enjoy the game. Just enjoy the game for what it is, and if you're good enough in time, it'll all just fall in your lap.
Perfect, right? Perfect. Very happy In fairness, thanks for coming on. Oh, before I let you go, actually, what was it like? What was it like playing without a crowd? I know you were saying that you don't mind playing with a crowd, but was it weird playing without a crowd?
Horrible.
Yeah. Would you? I didn't
like it. I didn't like it at all. To be honest with you, I think it was a very eerie. It was horrible, to be honest with you, and I didn't like it. And to be honest with you, if it continued, I wouldn't do it much longer because I got no kick out of it at all.
Okay, yeah. You think you would? Well, I would think that it would be more suited to you because you don't practice in front of a crowd, but no, the opposite. You'd prefer when the crowd are behind you.
Yeah, you see, you get used to it. You see, and it's what you learn. It's what you learn to deal with. I would say that a lot of people that done well this year that would normally have done well because of the no crowds. And I think as soon as the crowds come back, they're going to go back to what it was. They can't deal with crowds. Some of them, you know what I mean. But
saying that the darts crowd don't exactly stay socially distanced now, do they? If you ever see it from the telly, it looks fairly messy out there anyway. So I'd say the darts crowd will probably.
Oh yeah, you couldn't have the crowd now at the minute. No. It's just gone mad.
Well, but it looks like good crack though. I'd say it must be phenomenal to be at and be up on the stage. It must be something.
Something. I think I'm a bit, because of my position in the darts and things, and I'm looking at it all the time. I probably don't appreciate it as much as I probably should. It's probably the years down the line I'll look back at it and I'll see where
Yeah.
But at the minute I'm only kind of living it and it's just another day in the office
Thanks so much for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you might have got some. Did you get? Hopefully you got something from it. Maybe forced you to think it.
Oh, I did. I definitely did. No, I did, and I enjoyed it, and I do appreciate you having me on there now.
Good man, William. Thanks very much. I'll leave it there. So, cheers, William.